has spent an unusual amount of time over the past couple of weeks thinking about evaluations and what makes a good evaluator. Great topic. He will explore these thoughts with you today in his 5 to 7 minute speech entitled Anatomy of an Evaluation. Please help me welcome Bill.
No problem.
Yeah.
So this really pains me. I am by profession a lawyer. Before I was a lawyer, I was an engineer. If you look at the Venn diagram for skills of a lawyer and skills for an engineer, it's not a whole lot of overlap. One of the skills that is, one of the key points of that, I think, is attention to detail. You all remember, I did a presentation about 2 years ago, and I didn't realize that the presentation wasn't saved to my laptop, so I had to give the presentation without the aid of my visual aids. Since then, I've gotten a new computer. I have a presentation for this morning, and I discovered while setting up that the cable we have to the projector does not match with my new computer. So obviously, presentations are not within my bailiwick, and perhaps attention to detail is not either. I'm going to speak to you. I'm aware that no one can probably read the slides, but I'll walk you through. Thanks. Patty can read the slides. I've spent a lot of time trying to think about how to give a good evaluation. What does that mean? Maybe that's not the right question. Maybe the question is how to be a good evaluator. And I spent a lot of time thinking about that and realized I didn't really know. I know it's supposed to be helpful. I know you're supposed to try to encourage the speaker, give them useful advice, but what are you really supposed to be doing? Maybe the question is, well, what's a good evaluation? Let's take a step back and go to basics. So I went to Toastmasters. Toastmasters tells us that when you're evaluating speech, you should provide feedback based on what you know about the speaker's public speaking ability and level of confidence. If the member is new to public speaking, focus more on what they are doing well. Boost the new speaker's confidence first, and then note the skills he needs to develop. Give an advanced speaker more feedback on ways to enhance his or her communication and leadership skills while still including positive remarks. Okay, that's a lot to handle. What it comes down to is provide feedback on skills, provide encouragement. But really, skills and encouragement are the two main pieces. But which skills? I flipped through my Competent Communicator and just tried to pull out some of the skills. And the Competent Communicator, which was the system prior to Pathways, but Pathways still walks you through this, you just have to piece it together. There are skills in organization, language, body movement, vocal variety, visual aids, working with others, technical skills, which I am lacking, research, and persuasiveness. And those are my main categories. I have a whole slew of subcategories. There's a lot. There's way too much to go into in any evaluation, especially since you only have a limited amount of time. So at least for a while, I struggled. I would just try to hit on a few things that came to mind. I would say, like, oh, maybe I'll talk about vocal variety. But which of these skills is most important? We have newer members, we have more experienced members. How do you know which skills to try to reinforce, to praise, to correct, to offer suggestions on? Well, then I started thinking, these skills are really like tools. And now I have a list of tools, those being nailing tools, screwing tools, sawing tools, plumbing tools, painting tools, soldering tools, safety devices, measuring wrenches. If you go to your toolbox, which is the best tool? Is it the hammer? Is it the wrench? Is it the tape measure? Is it the saw? I think if I asked any of you this question, said, which is the best tool? You would say to me, well, what are you trying to build? What are you doing with these tools? So that's where I went back. The key question is, which of these skills should you accent in your evaluation? Should you highlight? Well, what's the speaker's purpose? The purpose, the goal, is the main question. It's the most important question to focus on when you are the evaluator. What is the purpose? Because the purpose is going to tell you what skills are being used most effectively to reinforce that purpose. Now, in the real world, there are basically 3 types of speaking purposes. Those are speaking to entertain, speaking to inform, speaking to persuade. Within Toastmasters, I think we have a 4th goal, which is speaking to learn or to demonstrate a certain skill. And almost every Toastmasters project gives you a specific purpose. The purpose I pulled out. The purpose of this project is to introduce or review basic presentation software strategies. Or creating and using slides to support or enhance a speech. That is the purpose of my speech today. So with that goal in mind, when you are the evaluator, you sit down with the purpose, you listen to the speech, and then you pick out a few of these skills, because you only really have time to highlight a few. Perhaps the 3 to 5 most important skills that you think would have made this speech better, the 3 to 5 that the speaker did an excellent job in presenting, and you're going to highlight those. So now you have the substance of your speech. So what I did was I said, let's say the speaker wanted to highlight beginning, middle, and end, volume, and presentation skills, and maybe focus on improving pictures and eye contact. Well, then what do you do with this content? Well, I stole this acronym from our own Megan Kopka, who presented and said use the word WISE to organize your evaluation. WISE stands for what the speaker did well, what the speaker could improve upon, summarize, and encourage. So this speech, you would present the items that the speaker did well, you would present the items that the speaker could improve upon, you summarize and you encourage, which is the sandwich method, which Patty just referenced. But it's all very constructive. But the key point is that it's focused. It's focused on those skills that serve the purpose. So I think evaluating is the hardest job we do. It is much harder than speaking because your evaluation is a speech. It is a speech that you have a very limited amount of time to present. It is a speech that you have to draft in 12 minutes while table topics is going on. You have to be very focused. It has to be done well. And the choices you make are not necessarily the choices the speaker made. For example, if you're giving input on vocal variety, you may decide to demonstrate how vocal variety could have been used, such as, and then you could have been talking louder. Or you could make the decision that actually doing the contrast is more effective and saying, you yelled the entire speech. It was distracting. But I consider evaluation to be 3 times as hard in 1/10 the time. These are my tips, my anatomy of a good evaluation. So good luck.